Good morning everyone, my name is Sitti Sakam. But before I will present my part, let's have a very brief recap about the previous report of Ms. Salahi according to the classification of carbohydrates. So without further ado, let's start. So the carbohydrates characterizes into four parts. These are monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. First, we have here the monosaccharides. The word mono means one. It contains a single polyhydroxy aldehyde and also a class of sugar that cannot be hydrolyzed into simpler sugar. And when we say hydrolyzed, it is a chemical reaction in which a molecule of water breaks one or more chemical bonds. Meaning, the monosaccharides cannot break to produce another simple sugar, or it cannot be dissolved in water. Next, we have here the disaccharides. From the word itself, di means two, contains two monosaccharide units covalently bonded to each other. Example of disaccharides can be found in lactose or in milk sugar. Compared to monosaccharides, disaccharides can be soluble in water. So moving forward, let's have my part, which is the oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So in oligosaccharides contains 2 to 10 monosaccharide units. It is covalently bonded to each other. So I have here a structure of a disaccharides oligosaccharides. So as you can see, it is di because of it has two structure. To count, let's say it has an invisible OH here at the top. So let's count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Another one, we have here this circle little thing, this bounded to each other that connected the other structure, that is called the glycosidic bonds. So, let's count again. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all in all. So, next is we have this formed by short chains of monosaccharide units from 2 to 20 linked one to the next by the chemical bonds. So, we have here another example. This is trisaccharides or ripanose, apart from oligosaccharides. So this is galactose, glucose, and fructose. Next, we have here it is usually found associated with proteins and lipids in complex molecules that are serve structural and regulatory functions. Free oligosaccharides other than disaccharides are less common in nature. So, proceed. Next, we have here the examples of oligosaccharides that can be found in the food that we take. The whole wheat, cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and so on. Then the other fruits such as nuts, raspberries, and so on. So next, we have here the polysaccharides. Polysaccharides is the most abundant carbohydrate found in food. It is a type of carbohydrate can react with water using amylase enzymes as catalyst and which produces a constituent sugars. Meaning that the polysaccharides uses a type of protein that helps to digest the food that we ate and that could produce sugar in our body. So, polysaccharides consist of tens of thousands of monosaccharide units covalently bonded to each other. So, these monomers react with other monomers to form polymers. The examples are starch, glucose, and glycogen. Starch is mostly produced by green plants to store energy. So, we have two types of polysaccharides. These are homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. First, we have to introduce the homopolysaccharides. Homopolysaccharides polymers are single monosaccharide. It has an example of glycogen, cellulose, and starch. But there are some neutral polysaccharides, such as cellulose, originate from the cell walls of the grape, and other homopolysaccharide originated in infected grapes and wines. But the most noteworthy polysaccharides of fungal origin are glucans. Heteropolysaccharides or heteroglycans. It contains more than one kind of monosaccharide. Many naturally occurring of heteropolysaccharides have peptides, proteins, and lipids attached to them. So I have here 3 examples of heteropolysaccharides or heteroglycans. Number 1, we have peptidoglycans. It is a part of bacterial cell wall found on the outside of almost all bacterial cytoplasmic membrane. Its primary goal is to maintain cell integrity by resisting turgor. Next, we have agarose. It is a natural heteropolysaccharide or derived from seaweed. And it is a structural part of their cell wall. Third is the glycosaminoglycans or GAGs, are heteropolysaccharides that are only present in animals and bacteria, are not in plants. Derived carbohydrates. Those were carbohydrate moieties have undergone some reactions converting them into products such as sugar acids, sugar alcohols, deoxysugars, and sugar amines. So these important 4 compounds is important source of food and energy for animals. Oligosaccharides. As I have said a while ago, oligosaccharides are commonly found in cabbage, broccoli, onion, and wheat.
In humans, intestinal bacteria action on the indigestible ripinose and stachyos.
Present in beans produces gaseous products that can cause discomfort and flatulence. So, why do beans makes you fart? Beans causes gas, bloating, and farting because gut bacteria ferment fiber and releases gas as a product. Take note, all beans are different. And if you're familiar with pinto beans, this is how it looks like. So, cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and so on also cause gas because unlike beans, they contain a form of fiber called ripinose. Next is solanine. A potato toxin is an oligosaccharide found in association with an alkaloid. Bitter taste of potatoes is due to relatively higher levels of solanine. Effects of solanine. When indigested, they can cause drowsiness, weakness, apathy, and gastrointestinal symptoms. There are rare cases, and do not be afraid on eating potatoes because they are safe, they are healthy, and it is good for your body. And also, it uses a staple food in many countries, but if you're going to buy or if you're going to pick some potato, please avoid potatoes that are unripe, sprouting, or in green color. Those 3 characteristics of unsafe potatoes contains alkaloid or toxic alkaloids. So this is the structure of the polymer chain. So many monosaccharide units bounded with glycosidic linkages, branched or unbranched, homopolysaccharide or heterosaccharides. The alternate name of this polymer chain is glycan. Then it is limited water solubility. Next is we have the types or the characteristics of the polysaccharides. So first, the storage polysaccharides. It contains starch and glycogen. In acidic polysaccharides, it has heparin, hyaluronic acid, alginic acid, and chondroitin sulfate. Next is in heteropolysaccharides, it has heparin, hyaluronic acid, alginic acid, and chondroitin sulfate. The same with acidic polysaccharides. Next, in structural polysaccharides, it has cellulose, chitin, and carrageenan. In homopolysaccharides, it has starch, glycogen, cellulose, chitin, and carrageenan. So, as you can observe, the acidic polysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides are the same characteristics, while structural and polysaccharides have the same three characteristics, but in homopolysaccharides have two, starch and glycogen. So starch, the chief caloric distributor in the diet, the reserved carbohydrates, and the energy storage for plants. Also, we can see starch everywhere as it can be added in our recipes. Starch is tasteless, floppy, white powder that is insoluble in cold water, alcohol, and other solvents. Moreover, starches are more complex and the body has to break them down before they get into the bloodstream. But take note that fiber is more complex and some of them cannot be broken down by the body. It depends on how good your digestive system is. So, the ability to digest starch along with the discovery of fire, cooking, and give humans a new food source that allows us to strive even more marginal environments. So, glycogen, the animal starch, it has a definition of glycogen, which is a tasteless polysaccharide, and it is a principal form in which glucose is stored in animal tissues, especially muscle and liver tissue. In other words, it's the substance that is deposited in the bodily tissues as a store of carbohydrates. Cellulose, a fibrous carbohydrate found in all plants where it serves as a structural components of the plant cell wall. So we have here, cellulose is an example of a structural polysaccharide, and it is used in the cell walls of plants and other organisms. And it is said to be the most abundant organic molecule on Earth. Cellulose is made up of thousands of glucose molecules attached together to form a chain. The tensile strength of the cellulose makes it very useful organic molecule. Moreover, cellulose is another polymer of glucose consisting of anywhere from hundreds to over 10,000 monomers. Roughly, 33% of all plant matter is cellulose. So the chitin structure is a long chain polymer, and it is the second most abundant polysaccharide in the nature. So its primary component of cell walls in fungi, the exoskeletons of arthropods such as crustaceans and insects, and the raduli, cephalobeaks, and gladi of mollusks. It also synthesized by at least some fish and least amphibians. Chitin is similar to cellulose in both function and structure, but its function is to give rigidity to the exoskeletons of crabs, lobsters, and other sources of the chitin. Next, we have here the carrageenan. Carrageenan occurs as hydrocolloid extracted from selected species of red algae. Carrageenan used or can be used also in food industry. It can also be in medical purposes, and it can also use as thickening or emulsifying agent in food products. So the hyaluronic acid, highly viscous, serves as lubricants in the fluid of joints and part of vitreous humor of the eye. When some insects sting, they can inject an enzyme called hyaluronidase, which breaks hyaluronic acid linkages and facilitates the spread of the venom. Some common example of this hyaluronic acid can be found in snake and in bee venom. So, in the past, medical hyaluronidase was extracted by bovine or sheep testicles and used without purification. Another trivia about hyaluronic acid, it can also be used for beauty products or skincare, primarily made by bacteria in a lab via process called biofermentation. And of course, it is being studied well and it is safe to use. Heparin. It is also known as unfractionated heparin or UFH. It is a medication and naturally occurring glycosaminoglycan. Specifically, it is also used in treatment of heart attacks and unstable angina. Another one, heparin injection can also use to decrease the clotting ability of the blood and help prevent harmful clots from forming in blood vessels. Alginic acid. Alginic acid is a natural carbohydrate that comes from algae in seaweed, particularly in kelp, and it is used in processed foods. It is also used in certain modifications or medications such as Gaviscon liquid to create a foam barrier for coating the stomach. Also, if you are taking too much of alginic acid, it may cause side effects. So these side effects are severe stomach pain, constipation, bloody or tarry stools, coughing up blood, swelling in your ankles or feet, or even worsening your stomach condition. So be careful on using alginic acid. So chondroitin sulfate is a chemical found in human and in animal cartilage. Specifically, if you're going to search for chondroitin sulfate in animals, it can be in sharks and in cows. This can also be an intake medication with glucosamine or other ingredients for osteoarthritis. But some people use this as for supplement supplement for fighting their joint pain. Another one, it is a degenerative joint disease in which the cartilage at the ends of your bones wears down, causing pain and increasing the risk of fracture. So we have known the good effects of chondroitin sulfate as it was a chemical formula in or found in the human and in animal, but nowadays the scientist is still searching for an answer or effectiveness of this type of medication because they still have this higher quality of studies to investigate its effects. And that would be all. Thank you.